The Kaulig Racing Ram rumors just will not go away as the AllStar race headed to Dover in 2026. Plus, Donny Schatz, he wasn't unemployed very long. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, a couple of different driver notes. One, Jack Wood, the driver number 91 truck for McAnally in the Truck Series, he will not race this weekend on Friday night at Richmond. He suffered an injury last weekend in Watkins Glen, and he has not been medically cleared to race this weekend. The team has decided to withdraw that 91 truck. They will not enter it into the race on Friday night. No substitute driver. I did hear one name for a substitute driver, and I was kind of hoping we get to see him in the Truck Series again this year, but it doesn't look like that happened. Schedules just, don't align always. We also found out this week that Natalie Decker will be making her return to the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona next weekend, which is certainly something. So we'll get into what we want to talk about today. We're going to start off with Kaulig Racing and the Ram truck rumors. The rumor mill that just will not go away. Now, they certainly sparked up this week when Chris Rice went onto SiriusXM NASCAR and said that they have had conversations with Dodge and that he thinks everybody in the garage area has had conversations with Dodge at this point, which he's not wrong. Dodge has had conversations with a lot of people. They're putting out a lot of feelers trying to figure this all out. Now, the Kaulig Ram rumors, I first heard about them back at Chicago at the street race on 4th of July weekend. That was the first time I heard about it, and they've been floating around for about a month and a half since then. And where there's smoke, there's certainly some fire, right? So will Kaulig field a Truck Series team in 2026 for Ram, represent the brand in the Truck Series? I think it makes sense from a Kaulig standpoint. I think it makes sense from a Ram standpoint for sure. I know there's going to be questions about, well, they're a Chevy team, aren't they, in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series? They are, in fact, in both of those. Now, they've received very little OEM support from Chevrolet. They're certainly not getting near the support that a Hendrick Motorsports does, Aspire Motorsports, or even Trackhouse at this point, not even RCR. So the move over to Ram, eventually Dodge as well, does make some sense. And I think it makes sense for both sides. From a Ram standpoint, the infrastructure at Kaulig Racing already exists. They've won races in the Cup Series. They've won races in the Xfinity Series. They've contended for championships in the Xfinity Series. Now, they haven't entered the Truck Series yet. They've only been an Xfinity Series team and a company since 2016. And they've had a bit of a meteoric rise, especially in the Xfinity Series, in terms of being contenders and winning races. Now they're trying to replicate that in the Cup Series, but it's hard to climb up those OEM totem poles as we've seen. Having a new OEM come in makes a lot of sense from a Kaulig standpoint to align yourself with them and potentially become the number one team in that OEM camp. Makes a ton of sense. There's a lot of money that comes along with being a tier one team. Just as Hendrick Motorsports or Team Penske or 2311/Joe Gibbs Racing over on the Toyota side of things. There's a lot of money that comes along with doing that. Now, there's a couple logistics things that come out of this. One of the things is going to be, how do they run a Ram truck next year, but a Chevy Cup and Xfinity program? I would just assume if they do, in fact, run a Ram truck program next year, that the Chevy side of things, on the Xfinity side and the Cup side, Chevy just goes away. The OEM support, the little that they get, is just gone. Now they're on their own until Dodge eventually comes in, whether that's 2027 or 2028 at this point. On the other side of things, you also have to wonder about an engine program because for the Truck Series, it's easy, right? Starting up a truck as a new OEM isn't the most difficult thing in the world. I say that as a person that's sitting here talking about it. But in terms of like starting up a Cup program versus a truck program, you need a body. You've got the spec Ilmor engine. Okay. When you want to do it on the Cup side of things or the Xfinity side of things, guess what? We're going to have to go out and build some engines now. And from a Cup standpoint, there's four people that are building engines. You got TRD building them for 2311 Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, Legacy Motor Club. You have Chevy. They have two in that camp, Hendrick Motorsports, as well as ECR, Earnhardt Childress Racing engines. Then on the Ford camp, you have Roush Yates, and they all use that engine. Where's the Dodge engine going to come from? Are they going to be able to convince one of those other manufacturers, engine builders, to build them an engine? Possibly, maybe. There's certainly a chance that that could happen. Are they going to start up their own engine program, or would they try to get like an Ilmor engine or a Cosworth or something along those lines and just rebadge it? Obviously, one of the big things about Dodge Ram coming back into NASCAR is the fact that they want to use this as a marketing platform. They brought the Hemi back, and they're going to absolutely advertise the hell out of that on their Ram trucks next year in the Truck Series. along with probably Direct Connection or Mopar or whatever other Dodge brands they want to throw on it. Is it going to be a Jailbreak 1500 SRT, TRX, all the different acronyms and random other things that they have there? Who knows at this point? But when it comes to Kaulig and Ram, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? I think that there's been enough smoke around this to know that there's a fire happening there, and that is probably something that should be looked into a little bit further. I'll do that. I'll ask around and see what's happening. These rumors, like I said, have been around since July 4th weekend. That's the first time I heard of it. Kind of asked around at that point. It was kind of given the, we'll see. Had talks, but nothing concrete out of it. So we'll see what happens. I've seen people on TikTok already on my video being like, oh, what about Penske? Are they going to go over to Dodge? No, they're the number 1 Ford team. They're not going to leave that position. What about Trackhouse? Wouldn't expect that to happen. What about Legacy? Also would not expect that to happen. I think that if you're going to get a team to move over to a new OEM who's basically starting from scratch again, you have to look further down. And Kaulig, having won cup races, is still kind of far down on that Chevy totem pole in that pecking order. That looks like a pretty decent team if you're going to make a run at it. So we'll see how it plays out. Dover Motor Speedway has hosted a NASCAR Cup Series points race every year since 1969. Nice. That could be changing in 2026. According to the other guy over at The Athletic, not named Jeff Gluck, the AllStar race could be headed to Dover in 2026. And I know, I can already hear the absolute angry yells, people asking why, just yelling why at their phone, computer screen, TV, whatever, when you're watching this here. And I would say that this is more of an SMI decision than it is a NASCAR decision. SMI owns the All-Star race date. We've seen them move it around in recent years, right? Charlotte, Texas, Bristol, North Wilkesboro, now maybe even Dover. Why would they want to move it to Dover? Well, moving it to Dover means that they can take that points paying race and give it to North Wilkesboro, where they would like to have a points paying race at. Okay, well, you got rid of the points date at Dover, you give it to North Wilkesboro. Again, why would they do that? Well, on the North Wilkesboro side of things, the interest around the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro has started to fatigue just a little bit. They're not selling tickets as fast. They're not selling as many tickets as well, but giving them a 400-lap points-paying race is going to rejuvenate that ticket buyer base. Maybe that's going to entice more people to go to it. Some people would rather go to a actual points-paying race than go to the All-Star race. There's just some personal preference there. Okay, fair. But why would they give Dover the All-Star race and take away their points-paying date? I think there's a couple of factors here. Obviously, the attendance at the Dover race last month, not the best that we've ever seen. I know people are going to say it's hot. Listen, it's hot everywhere in the summer. It's hot in Nashville. It's hot in Iowa. It's hot in Indianapolis. It's hot everywhere. So I can't say that's a pretty good excuse. At the same time, maybe they're looking at the All-Star race as a potential chance to, again, rejuvenate the ticket buyers there. Can try to convince more people to come out to Dover because it does have the All-Star race now. There is a big holdup about this. Dover doesn't have lights. Ask Bob Pockris. Bob, does Dover have lights? No, they don't, Matt. All right, perfect. See, no lights in Dover. That's going to be an issue. Do you bring in temporary lights, or do we have like a afternoon NASCAR All-Star race? I think that's where things get a little bit more confusing at. At the same time, the race we just had there wasn't good. It was bad. So why would you take the All-Star race there? Well, I have wondered for a while since SMI took over Dover took over operating Dover, bought Dover, and also as well as National Super Speedway, which is where that second Dover date went to. It kind of felt like Dover's days were always going to be a bit numbered. It doesn't really fit maybe this current version of NASCAR. Now, when was the last time you saw a good race at Dover? I'll wait for you to answer because it's been a while. For me, the last time I can remember a truly good race at Dover, spring 2016. Matt Kenseth, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott. That was a good race. Since then, you've had some okay ones, right? But nothing that has been absolutely spectacular by any means. Could we see Dover go off the schedule? I don't think that's a crazy thought to have. I think that is a real possibility in the next few years. And it all kind of stems on that track getting better, having better races. And is it a track problem or is it a car problem? Listen, Dover's always been difficult. Drivers love Dover. And as Cole Pearn pointed out the other night on Twitter, like Michael Waltrip told him about the old Atlanta, just because the drivers love it and it feels good to the drivers doesn't mean that it's good. He said it's a lot like me beating my meat on the couch. Feels good, but nobody else wants to see it. That's kind of what Dover has turned into. It seems great for the drivers. The drivers absolutely love racing at Dover. But in terms of the fans watching, especially on the Cup side of things haven't been good in a couple of years now. So we'll see what comes out of that. But yeah, Dover might be hosting the AllStar race next year, which is not a sentence I thought I'd be saying at any point in my lifetime. Donny Schatz's time on the unemployment line is already over. I mean, he was just fired on Tuesday afternoon, and on Thursday, he has a job again. Didn't even get to file his unemployment papers. Schatz will race in the next 7 World of Outlaw races for Big Game Motorsports. Who's Big Game Motorsports, you ask? They field David Gravel's car in the World of Outlaws. So they are multiple race winners. They're also championship winners. And for all the Kyle Larson fans out there, go ahead and get your booze out of the way now. And we'll move on with the rest of it here. The Larson-Gravel rivalry has certainly turned into something very entertaining. It goes deeper than just those two not liking each other. It also goes down to World of Outlaws versus High Limit, Flow Racing versus Dirt Vision. There's a lot that goes into this. But for Donny Schatz, this is a great place for him to land. Obviously, when Tony Stewart Racing decided to move on from him, it kind of left him, high and dry. It seems like Tony, in his interview, was the one to make the decision. He said eventually somebody just has to make a decision, and he decided to go ahead and move on from Donny after 18 years together. He said Donny, was probably pretty pissed off to receive that phone call, but something had to be done. And I think everybody knows that. If you've been following dirt racing, Schatz has struggled over the last few years. Same with TSR. The pairing just wasn't getting along. Now for Donny, he's going over to a team, like we said, wins races. They've won multiple races this year with David Gravel. I believe they're leading the points right now. They won the championship last year. They just went from like 22nd to 3rd at the Knoxville Nationals last weekend. So Donny's getting into good equipment. For the team, they said that the next 7 races, all being in the Midwest, make it easy for them to field a second car since their shop is close by. What happens after those 7 races, I guess, is up in the air. Schatz will be behind the wheel of his, familiar number 15. Glad he didn't go all Aaron Rodgers, LeBron James, want to change his number just because he changed teams. But he's going to get the opportunity now to drive competitive race cars that we know can win. Not saying TSR can't win. We've obviously seen them win in the past, but as in their current form, they're struggling. For Schatz, he can kind of get in there and gauge himself off of David Gravel. Is he close? Is he not close? Does he have speed? Is he going to be able to move up that finishing order? He is 6th in the World of Outlaws points right now as well. So he'll get back behind the wheel Friday night at Ogleville up in Minnesota. We'll see how he can do. You can watch that on Dirt Vision. I do believe that High Limit is also back in action on their West Coast swing, Flow Racing on Friday night as well. So it could be a heavy dirt night if you want to watch it. Also a Truck Series race on Friday night as well. So big time night for anybody that likes to watch cars go around in circles, as we all do, because, well, that's why you're here watching this. So interested to see what Schatz can do. Interested to see what Kerry Madsen can do over in the TSR 15 as well. There will be 2 15s. Tony said that they will likely change the number back after the year, but for owners' points right now, they're going to stick with the 15 that they currently have. So we'll see how it goes. But let me know in the comments what you think about Kaulig possibly going to Dodge, Dover hosting the AllStar race, North Wilkesboro getting a points pain race, and Donny Schatz not being unemployed any longer. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.